everyone, this is going to be a tutorial on how to create the Colonial Knot. I will say right off the bat that this Colonial Knot is a little more complicated than the Chinese knot, like the wrap around the needle has a little bit more to it, but I still much prefer it to the French knot. Colonial is actually my favorite now because it is, again, really consistent and almost impossible to mess up. You're never going to get those loops or the too loose of knot or anything like that, which is just fabulous in my opinion. So the first thing that you're going to do, like any knot, is come up through the fabric from the back. Make sure that your thread is secured behind. And then you are going to loop the needle through the thread, creating this over-under V right here. So I usually just kind of hold the thread out straight and slide the needle under. So you've got over, under with the thread, the base of the thread going over, the tail coming back under towards you. Then you're going to take that tail and you're going to wrap it around the front of the needle. Again, over, under, away from you, and then towards. The needle goes back into the fabric. Pull your knot tight around the needle and then push that needle all the way through. Oh, we got some fuzz. And that is your completed Colonial Knot. Really simple, really consistent. Let's do another one. Needle comes up through the fabric. Whoops. And then you're going to loop that needle over under, creating that nice V with the thread. You can kind of see it there really well. And then that end goes away from you, over the needle, back towards you, under the needle. Needle back in the fabric, pull your knot tight, and all the way through. One more time. So, like I said, like holding it up in a straight line can kind of help. And then you tuck that needle through. You can see a little bit closer there that we're going over first and then under towards the back of the needle. And we're wrapping that thread, securing the needle into the fabric, and pulling that knot tight. You can really feel how much the knot tightens before you even pull the needle through the fabric. Unlike other knots where you are having to hold it with your thumb so that it doesn't come undone or loosen as you go through, this Colonial Knot, like you can see it there, it tightened by itself. I can let go, I can move it around, it's not going anywhere, and I don't actually have to hold it as I pull it through. So you get a perfect knot without securing it whatsoever, because it's already basically tied the knot before you even go through the fabric, which is so helpful. Love it. So these are French knots right here, and you can see that they're really pretty much exactly the same size. They look the same, really no difference. Over, under, looping that thread around the front and back in. Perfect. Yeah, so the few times that I've made huge pieces out of French knots, you end up having to find like the perfect position to put your hand in so that you can constantly hold the thread as you're making the knots. And I mean, it's led to some very cramping thumbs, because depending on the size of your hoop and where you're sitting that day, like having a stand can help, but if you're just sewing in your lap, like it is not fun on your fingers. And with this Colonial Knot, you just don't have to worry about that. You don't have to hold anything, which is why I love it. It may seem weird at first to like memorize this pattern that the thread does, but if you think about it, it was probably the same way when you learned French knots. Like it took you a second to remember which way to loop the thread and which way it goes and everything. Like honestly, those kind of things, as soon as you've done 10 of them, you're gonna remember it. Oh, there we go. That one kind of messed up. So there, like my thread just tied itself in a knot before coming all the way through. Let's see what happens here once I unknot it. Pulling it through. Oh, look at that. It's still completely perfect. So if that had happened with a French knot, the French knot would pretty much be ruined. Like, there would be no way of fixing it. That's happened to me so many times, and then you just have to like either undo it or cut it out or try to tack it down and hide it underneath something. And look at that. All of them consistent, all of them perfect. So these are also colonial knots over here. These are with 6-strand. So you can see they're quite a bit bigger. So if you want those big knots, those are fun. These are French knots. Those are Chinese knots. So you can see they all pretty much look the same. It's just about how you're creating that knot and which one is easier for you. I definitely prefer those Chinese and colonial knots. So I hope that this has been super helpful to you. And thanks, everyone.